This is Thriving Chiropractors, where chiropractors supporting chiropractors and talking to chiropractors that are thriving beyond the four walls of their practice. Hey everybody, this is Dr. Austin Cohen here with Thriving Chiros Podcast. I am so excited today because we have Dr. Dan Bay, Life Alumni 2001 here with us today, and really sharing success principles that create thriving chiropractors, whether it's in their personal life, in their professional life, and of course their financial life. We're looking for thriving chiropractors to really be able to give back, give, do, love, serve, and help this profession out. And so really super excited. We've got Dan Bay here. Dan, welcome to the podcast.
Hey, Dr. Austin Cohen. Good to see you after all these years, my friend.
After all these years. And before Dr. Dan even gets started, listen, what we got to share is warning, okay? Fortunately, we're being edited right now. But man, I know it's going to be hot today. And I know the content you're going to provide is valuable. Hopefully some of the ears out there can handle what you're going to share. But hey man, like this guy's going to let it loose, man. He's just shooting straight from the hip today. And you're going to get content. You're going to get value. Just nobody be offended. Nobody be mad. He's just going to tell it straight. All right?
Oh, no.
That's how it is.
Offended, there will be plenty.
Pluralized.
Yes, they'll be very, very offended. But I got to tell you something. Thanks for the warning.
Yeah.
But one of the things that I have learned right off the bat is that authenticity is the new currency. So all I can tell everyone out there is I'm just being me. And I think the new generation of chiros coming up, if they can actually embark on the fact that authenticity is the new currency, stop trying to be like everyone else, I think everyone would be way more successful than they are right now. So that's my prelude and that's my warning. I'm just trying to be myself.
I think we could stop there and you just gave all the content, by the way, that value. That was amazing. And I want to go straight into it. I think, you and I were talking before we started this podcast. I was like, listen, man, I don't want to start with the whole tell me your story. And then we go on some 20-minute that really doesn't have value. Like I want to go straight into it right now and let's get people started. And so, there was a post you made on social media a few days ago. And man, like for those of you that aren't following Dr. Dan Bay on social media, get on it. This guy, one of the best influencers ever. I'm just waiting for some of the shirtless photos, but other than that, the content's great.
Wait, I got to start with the workout photos first.
Yeah.
And then the shirtless ones.
Man, the content though is great. So, the content though, and here's what it was, by the way. It was, there's two chiropractors in different zip codes. One has $1 million practice, one has $100,000 practice a year. You take the $1 million person, you put in the $100,000. You take the $100,000, you put in the $1 million one, and it doesn't matter zip codes. But how fast does it take for the $1 million clinic guy to get the $100,000 clinic up to $1 million? And then the person who's $100,000, how long does it take them to tank the $1 million clinic? And it's just, gosh, man, the amount of excuses people make for why they can't be successful. Like, will you talk to that? Because that to me is like so value right there.
No doubt about it. What a great opener, man. So if you guys are out there, thanks for having me, by the way. Austin, thank you. Life University, thank you. My alma mater. But this is a age-old dilemma in our profession about the fact that it's my environment that determines my success, right? Now, listen, I am not Tony Robbins. I don't know if you've seen my picture, you know what I look like. I'm not DeMartini. I'm not Deepak Chopra. And I'm not here. I'm a pragmatist, okay? I'm a pragmatist. So when I see something like that, and I see someone that is taking $1 million practice and tanking it, and a $100,000 practice building up to $1 million, really the biggest variable is the person, right? Now, that seems pretty esoteric, right, Austin? It's like, okay, duh, it's the person that's doing it. But what is it about the person that's doing it? And that's really what I want to discuss here, because it is not something that people are born with, okay? And I'm talking to Austin, and he's a very successful chiropractor. He knows exactly what I'm talking about. These principles of success are not things that are innately people are born with. They are trained. And one of the things that I've learned watching successful practice owners absolutely crush it is the one thing they have learned is that this thing called loving, giving, serving, okay, is a skill too. It's not just a mentality. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
It's not just a kumbaya. And no offense, guys. Okay, warning. Okay, I love you guys.
First offense.
I love you guys. But it's not going to help you going into a dark room with candles and humming and meditating and visualizing your success. Okay, it's not going to help you jumping off a 12-foot wooden pole with the harness or bending rebar with your external notches. That is not going to build success. I am so sorry for that.
Not bad to do though still.
Not bad at all. However, I think there's a time and a place. So here's my analogy. The Masters weekend, right now. I know you're not a big golf fan, but for everyone else out there, it is April, 11th. It's, in Augusta right now. If I wanted to go and play in the Masters, see, I can't think myself there. I can't say, I want to be a great championship golfer. Get me to the first tee. Like, that's not going to work, right? However, if I spent years and years of study and skill on the art, science, and philosophy of golf, and then at a certain point, I coupled that skill, that high-level skill, with good mental approach, right? Good positive approach. All the things that I'm making fun of right now, you do it after you have the skill, then friggin' game over. That is what the $1 million practice owner is doing. Implementing a skill that he or she has learned, practicing it over and over again, implementing it, executing, watching it execute, doing it over and over and over again to a point where it's unconsciously competent.
Yeah.
And then reap the reward.
The other thing, do you find this too as well, is that, this is one of these $1 million clinics too as well, like it is a mindset. And also it's like, they don't stop. When things get hard, they push because they know on the other side of that, there's going to be success. I've done Ironman, I've done 100-mile runs, and those are hard as heck things to do.
Yes.
But when I get to the point of thinking I want to quit, it's what do you do in that situation? So, right, like you can have these things, but what do? Do you either keep pushing through or do you quit? Most people, they quit.
Right.
Because it got hard.
Right.
Life is hard. And gosh, you've been in practice now since how long have you been in practice for now?
Oh boy, 2001. So what is that? My math is not my thing.
23 years.
23 years, yes.
I almost said an offensive comment. Glad I didn't.
Well, I'll say it for you. I am I am a disgrace to my Asian race. I am very bad at math. I'm so horrible at it. I need a calculator for 2 + 2. That's how I roll. But after 23 years, I see where you're going with this. Is like the perseverance is a concept, right? But that in itself is a skill, Austin, right? Like when you do an Ironman, let me ask you a question. The first time you hit that brink, right? That was like you were on Mars, man. You probably never felt that type of, holy cow, I want to die and I want to quit right now. Sure. But the next time you hit it, you're like, okay, I've seen this before. I felt this before. Let me see if I can just eke out another quarter mile or whatever, right? And then the next time you do it, you eke out another mile. And all of a sudden, you're learning how to persevere those moments where you just want to hit the wall and just lay down and quit. And I think that's exactly what you're referring to.
You ever listen to David Goggins?
Yes.
Cookie jar.
Yeah.
The cookie jar, man. You just know you can do those things.
Absolutely.
What advice would you have for somebody though? Whether you own your own business, whether you're an associate doctor, lead doctor, whatever, clinic owner, things will get hard no matter what. And it's like, do you have advice for those people when they hit that point of thinking of quitting or thinking of stopping? And how could they push through that, right? You talk about this mindset training and the difference between $1 million and $100,000 clinic, but it's is there an action item maybe you have or a tool that you use that can help?
All the time, and I still use it today. I gotta tell you, docs or students, whoever's listening right now, and if you could just take this one to the bank and think about this every time things get hard, it's this. And my mentor, Dr. David Roy, I will always never forget him because he taught me, first year at a chiropractic school, he said, nobody does things by themselves. Nobody does things by themselves. And all too often in chiropractic, what I find is that there's so many docs out there that are on their own little island all by themselves, thinking they can figure all of this stuff out by themselves, right? And the idea of community is more of an esoteric concept, but here's the pragmatism in community. When that stuff gets bad, you got to reach out. Because if you don't reach out, you're not utilizing the power of the group. And you're done. And, I think you and I have both great examples of when things got really bad, we reached out.
100%.
That's the secret to my success right there. Probably yours.
I'm sure you've heard before, you can go fast by yourself, but you can go further together.
No doubt about it.
It's funny. It's one thing, the tool I've always used is that when things get really hard and I get in my darkest place, I always think about if my son or my daughter were in this situation and they called me right now, they're like, Dad, this is really hard. What should I do? Son, nothing lasts forever. Push through it, remember tomorrow, and you'll feel really good on the other side. And if that's the advice I'd give them, then I've got to take action and be that example for them.
No doubt about it.
For your children, right? And I know you've got 2 kids too as well.
Yeah.
So, well,
No
speaking
doubt
of kids and like actually being young, I mean, dude, what advice, like if you could go back 20 years ago and take like the knowledge and all the stuff you've learned over the last 20 years, like give advice to that young guy who graduated from chiropractic school, opening up his own clinic or being an associate, whatever he was doing, what advice would you give that person, man?
The advice is pretty simple, and that's a tough question because there's so much I want to say to my younger self.
Like top 2, top 3,
and
couple.
All right, so number 1 is back to the learning of a skill. We spent a lot of time learning the skill of the practice and the art and philosophy of chiropractic, right? Obviously, that's right in front of us, top of mind. The other skill I wish I had, and I started learning early on, is sales skills, right up front. Now, if you guys are hearing sales and you're already turning this off, I mean,
stay tuned right now.
Guys, I mean, I hate to say it here, warning, offensive. It's pretty unsophisticated. That if you hear the word sales, you're thinking, ugh, yuck, that's icky. That is so antiquated. That's like 1980s stuff. Nothing wrong with the 80s, best decade in the history of the world, right? In terms of music and food and pop culture. People born here were born these. But in terms of sales being sleazy, that is so antiquated. Right now, sales is a thing. It's a topic of study, right? Marketing, no one would say marketing is It's a thing. It's a topic of study. It's a skill set, right? And we never got it, obviously. Right? And so number 1 advice I would give is find a place where you can learn the fundamentals of sales. And I'll tell you something. When I learned the fundamental of proper sales right up front, it hooked me. I'll tell you why. Because it was so in line with the philosophical premises of chiropractic. I kid you not. I was thinking, oh my God, I thought sales was all about manipulation and browbeating and selfishness. And when I really looked into it and I saw the core of sales, and sales was actually framed as a way to serve others toward their selfish needs, wants, and desires, I'm like, dude, sign me up. Because it's exactly what I'm trying to accomplish here. Because check this out. All the doctors out there, if you know the person that's in your office right now has a problem, yes?
Yes.
And you have a solution, yes?
Yep.
Why in the world are they saying no? That should be a total head scratcher. You should be like, I don't get it. Unfortunately, the average doc out there, 70 to 80% of the people that are coming in their doors are leaving without even getting a glimmer or a glimpse of what chiropractic can do for them. That is a travesty. That is a complete waste. One of the biggest wasteful things in this world is the fact that people say they want a chiropractor and then for some reason, they don't even get a glimpse of it.
But people don't want to be on long-term care plans and they don't want to spend a lot of money. They need to talk to their spouses and the zip code they're in doesn't have the finances to support that. And I'm not serving patients if I'm charging them a lot of money, right?
Wow. There is the plethora of excuses, isn't there?
Yeah. And I mean, right, like I look back and I think too, like the mindset, right? Like you think of poverty versus prosperity mindset. You know, we all like, many of us who are listening to this are very successful chiropractors right now, hence the term thriving chiros. But, you know, we were all young at some point. It's, you know, you're getting out of school, you're in debt, you're pinching pennies, you're, you know, tipping valet guys and girls like $1, $2. You're waiting till the end of your like gas tank is like half, like empty, and you're filling it up, right? Like the mindset is like very reactive.
Totally.
And I think something you guys shared with me, you know, I've been through y'all's program, Close for Chiro, which we'll definitely want to talk about that. But, you know, I remember you guys telling me like, Austin, you're either selling them on chiropractic or their surgeon and medical doctor is selling them on back surgery, cortisone shots, or pain pills.
No doubt about it.
When you said that to me, I was like, man, you're right.
Yeah.
Like I got to step it up. And not from the sales like you're talking about, the sales that like the antiquated sales of like car sales, man. Like if you don't buy today, then it'll be $20,000. But if you buy now, like that's not the sales you're talking about.
No, I mean, that's the antiquated, that's the old school sales that needs to be eliminated and eradicated because that's what gives sales a bad name. But fundamentally, even back in the day, that's not really what real good salesmanship was all about. You know, it was about service. It was about being a bridge and a conduit between a problem and a solution. You know what I'm saying? In the grand scheme of things, you know, if I get someone under care and they pay me, I'm the big loser because I give them a lifetime of benefit and all I got was a measly couple of $1,000s for the case. I mean, who was the big winner here? It's actually the patient. In the grand scheme of things, in that transaction, I got screwed. You know, because how long did $2,000, $3,000 last me? Maybe an hour. I got payroll. I got rent. I got mortgage. I got kids, whatever, it's gone. But there's my patient.
Man, what I gotta say is for those of you guys that are like 10 years and over in practice, you look at your patients who've been coming in consistently for 10 years plus, and the quality of life of those people, man, compared to the people who come in and out and come and go, show up for a little bit. For those of you guys that are new docs who've been in practice like 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 years, like you'll see it. I've been in practice for 15 years and the people who've been with me since day one are some of the healthiest people.
No doubt about it.
And you look at their x-rays and you're like, man, this is exactly like what it's designed, and the way they function and how they operate, how they think, how they treat others. It's just different. And so, you can wrap your head around that, and that's really what you're selling. It's just it is a good world. And that's the world I want my kids to grow up in. And hopefully for many of you that have children, like that's the world you want your other kids to grow up into as well. Like,
yeah,
that is so.
And it's your obligation and your duty to get that to people who want it, right? Unfortunately, we're completely screwing that up. So back to your initial question. Yeah, learn how to sell properly. Number 2, and you touched on it, is don't be scared. You're going to be okay. Everything's going to be okay. And I remember that, man. The gas meter, and I remember that Waffle House on Barclay Circle.
Yeah.
I remember scrounging together like $6.04 for a patty melt and hash browns. I remember, because loans checks were not dispersed for another 2 weeks, right? I couldn't go to my parents for any money, and I was hurting. And I think I was in my 6th or 7th quarter, and I remember that feeling. It's very reactive, right? And again, you can't do that by yourself, right? Because there's other people who are struggling the same way. And if you get in front of people who are at a different mentality than you over time, it's like osmosis, man, And again, so anyone out there who's feeling that, even in practice, and maybe like, things are bad right now, like reach out. And number 2, don't be scared. Don't be reactive. We're just talking about this at lunch. If you make a decision based on an emotion, you're screwed, man. You're totally screwed. And you and I have both made those mistakes over our time.
If my wife is mad at me right now and she's yelling at me and getting crazy, and I speak back to her, and if we're in an emotion state,
done.
It's over.
Yep, done.
It's terrible. It's the same with employees and other people in this world. And,
absolutely.
I mean, we're kind of wrapping up these last couple of minutes. I mean, dude, so like, what are you up to now, man? Like, what does like your day look like? Like, what are you doing?
Dude, I am so blessed to be serving the entire chiropractic profession on this topic. Okay. And really setting chiropractors fundamentally sound in the way to communicate with their patients when they first enter the door, because that is when they're most receptive. That's when you're the highest level of influence when they first come in. And if we can button up that system, which we've been teaching now for over a decade, like game over, we win. We absolutely win. And I am still in practice too, believe it or not, but full transparency, my practice is my side gig, and it's almost a laboratory for Close for Chiro, but we're having a blast. My team is fantastic, and we're putting together some great programming in the coming years, and we're just having a blast doing it.
That's awesome, man. And it's cool. Like I was a client of y'all early days.
Like
the third thing y'all ever did, their program.
Yeah.
I think it was like few $100 back then.
Yeah.
Like this, wow. But it was such a great experience, to be a client and a friend, and really to see kind of what you've done, man, is very impressive. And the profession should be proud. Like you really transformed the profession.
Awesome. Thank you, Doc. I appreciate that. Thank you very much.
Thanks for being here today, Dr. Dan Bay. And Thriving Chiros, thank you so much for listening. We really hope to continue to provide value for all of you chiropractors. This is funded and supported by Life University. So thank you, Life University, for hosting Thriving Chiros, and we'll see you on the next episode. Have a great day.